This episode of Between the Levees is brought to you by Waterways Council, Incorporated, the national public policy organization that advocates for a modern, efficient, reliable, sustainable inland waterways transportation system. As WCI celebrates its 20th year, we serve the operators, shippers, growers, and producers, ports, skill-building trades, and conservation organizations that keep America and her key commodities moving on the inland system in the most environmentally friendly and safe way among surface transportation modes. To learn more about our important work and to join us, visit www.waterwayscouncil.org. Welcome back to Between the Levees. I am joined today by Mr. Matt Link, the current terminal manager for Host Terminals in Port Allen, Louisiana. Matt, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on, Tim.
Well, real quick, get this out of the way. What do you think about my little program here?
I think it's great. I've enjoyed watching the videos, seeing some of the people, I met in the past, just bringing awareness to what we do in the inland rivers, terminal services. Really enjoy it, man. Thank you for what you do.
That's no problem. Do you have any specific highlights that you've seen so far? Anybody that you've met especially interesting?
Yeah, some of the towboat captains definitely, especially the harbor tug guys that we work with all the time, docking vessels, just kind of hearing their point of view. We're always on the mooring side on the dock, be able to listen to some of the things that they've experienced and some of the challenges that they have. It's been great. It's been really interesting to listen to. So really enjoyed it.
Glad to hear it. Well, we'll get this started, man. Tell me, where were you born?
Well, I was born and raised in South Louisiana, a little farming community in Acadia Parish. It's called Richard. Really, rice, crawfish, soybeans is, pretty much the heart of what goes on out there.
Is that the Lafayette area?
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes northwest of Lafayette. Yeah, right outside of a little town called Church Point.
All right. Well, what did your parents do for a living?
So my dad was a farmer. He was a third generational farmer. My mom worked with him on the farm, doing the bookkeeping and everything. So he concentrated most of his work on rice and crawfish. He did a lot of soybeans when the market was right, but the crawfish really took off in the 80s. They really blew it up from there. He was really part of that group of guys that moved crawfish over from the basin to the rice fields of Acadia Parish and commercialized it. So he spent his time, it was pretty much his whole life, doing that.
And so you're retired now?
He actually passed a couple of years ago. He had a long battle with Parkinson's, so he was retired before that. So he passed 2 years ago, and that farm actually passed on to my younger brother. So he's taken it and he's expanded the acreage, the crawfish. He's putting out more crawfish than the farm has ever done before. He's doing really well. So it's still in the family. It's in good hands.
Good to hear. Do you have any other siblings?
Yeah, I have another brother who's 1 year younger than me. He's a detective in Lafayette. He was also in the military. He joined the Lafayette Police Department and moved on to a detective. And I also have an older sister. She is currently residing in Thibodeau, and she is a board certified plastic surgeon. So she's been in the medical field pretty much her whole life. She was in school quite a while, and she's at Thibodeau Regional Medical Center, plastic and reconstructive surgery there.
Tell me about growing up out there. I assume you worked on the farm?
Oh yeah. It was great growing up in the country. It was hard work. My dad taught us about, working with our hands, working on equipment, running tractors, combines, long days. Farmers work 7 days a week. It's kind of like the Mississippi River, never sleeps. Even when you're at home sleeping, you're always thinking about the next day. And, we had some good times out on the farm. We did some great things. Caught a lot of great crawfish too. So, I definitely had my own ponds. Just really taught me about hard work and being appreciative.
Were you drawn to anything in school growing up?
Growing up, I always wanted to be in the military. I come from a military background, family. Both of my grandfathers were in World War II. I had a great uncle that was in Spanish American War, a great great uncle that was in the Civil War. So it's long lineage of patriotism. So I didn't want to stick around farming. I wanted to travel the world, do my tour, do my service. I applied for an Army ROTC scholarship at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, which is UL Lafayette. So I spent my time there going through Army training. Once I graduated, I received a commission into the Army as a second lieutenant. And that's pretty much how I started my Army career as an officer.
Where did you study at ULL?
Well, I really wanted to be an Army JAG officer at first, Judge Advocate General. So, I really wanted to go to law school. So that was kind of the plan at first. So I, started in criminal justice and actually finished in criminal justice, but it just never panned out, with law school and the timing going into the military. So I just stuck with the criminal justice route, thinking that I was going to go into maybe the FBI or, some kind of federal agency after I did my time in the service.
My brother and his wife were just promoted to lieutenant colonel in Army JAG, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah. That's a good career. JAG officers are, those guys are something, man. They're great to work with.
My brother's route to OCS was a little circuitous compared to yours. But anyway, tell me what you can about your Army career.
Well, like I said, I commissioned as a second lieutenant. I went to the Ordnance Corps, a little different than Judge Advocate General. Wanted to work with munitions, explosive, things like that. So my first assignment was actually in Korea. So I spent a year there. I was attached to a Patriot missile battery. So Patriot missiles is the Army's air defense system. So I was there actually as a maintenance platoon leader. So spent time with those guys, came back to Fort Hood, Texas, and went in as a maintenance control officer. So really all the fleet maintenance, with all the trucks, the wreckers, fuel trucks, you name it, any asset. I was over all the maintenance and the upkeep of it. I had a large platoon there. Did a lot of good things with them. So after that, though, I joined a unit that was going to the Middle East and Kuwait. I was a transportation unit. That's when I got into the logistics field. I was a battalion operations officer. I was a captain by then. We went to Kuwait and we were running convoys in and out of Iraq, bringing equipment in, bringing some out, and it was all going to the naval bases in Kuwait, the Kuwaiti naval base, they call it KNB. And that's really where I got my first taste of maritime logistics. So the Army has a lot of watercraft, LCUs, landing crafts, LSVs, they call it logistics support vessels. Not exactly what, the same vessels we work today at the terminals, but really, bringing, tanks, Humvees, any kind of rolling stock in and out of the country. But got to learn a lot about the maritime world. Just, anything from mooring vessels, planning out, maps, of port of calls, just working with the captains, working with the warrant officers, the chiefs that were operating those vessels. Really good experience in Iraq, Iraq and Kuwait. So once I did my tour there, my obligation was done. It was right under 5 years. So I just decided to go ahead and get out. It was either stay in and do the full 20 or get out and transition into the civilian world.
Anything interesting to share about your retirement and transition into Kinder Morgan back here in South Louisiana?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was, it was definitely a challenge, the transition back into the civilian world. However, there was some good opportunities with companies like Kinder Morgan, other large corporations that were using recruiters to, to find military officers, especially in logistics, and introducing them to the maritime industry, terminal work, pipeline, chemical plant, petrochemical. So, I found a good fit here back in Louisiana with Kinder Morgan, and they had a manager and training program, or MIT program, where they would take the military officers and put them through a training course to transition them to become terminal managers. So, it seemed like a good fit. It was an opportunity to get back to Louisiana. So I went ahead and transitioned out, and pretty much ended up in Sorrento, Louisiana with Kinder Morgan, starting my civilian training.
How was life in Sorrento compared to what you've been used to up to that point?
Well, it's a little different. Louisiana is very cultured, being from, the Acadia Parish and, all the French speaking Cajuns to, this side of the world where it's all, people in the petrochemical industry are, serviced in the petrochemical industry. It was a whole new world, right? Growing up in Louisiana, we didn't know much about the Mississippi River. All we knew that Exxon refinery was in Baton Rouge. We had no idea the amount of traffic, barge, vessel traffic that went in and out of the Mississippi River. So, it was definitely a lot to learn. It was a lot to take in, but it was a great training program. Worked with a lot of good guys, a lot of good people. Just learned a lot. And it was fast paced. It was fast moving, but it really, it really challenged me in different ways than the Army could. But it helped elevate my career into what I'm currently doing now. So, great experience. I couldn't trade it for anything.
Any highlights of your time at Kinder Morgan that you can share here?
Well, Kinder Morgan at the time was, the country's largest terminal operator. I think they had right around 180 terminals across the country. So, I mean, they were just so different. You had IMT down in New Orleans handling coal, or Noranda aluminum handling, the alumina cars, lime, rail cars, barges. So I spent a lot of time there. Actually spent a lot of time in Globalplex and Reserve with the cement. There was a couple of cement domes. I got my taste of cement. That was interesting. And then probably my biggest highlight was when I went back to Geismar, and I had an opportunity to go to PCS Nitrogen, which is Nutrient Group now. But PCS Nitrogen was a large complex place. They manufacture lots of different acids: phosphoric acid, nitric acid, chlorsulfonic acid, and also a lot of fertilizers like urea, uran, and also anhydrous ammonia. So definitely got a lot of good experience on the chemical side. But we also did a lot of bulk handling too. We did a lot of fluorspar and phosphoric acid. So it was kind of neat seeing how, we bring the rock in from ship in a bulk product, watch it be processed, through, the different units that they had in the plant, and load it back out as a liquid. So that was a good experience. And that was neat watching, just being able to learn about how all that works. And, a lot of people don't realize Coca-Cola, has phosphoric acid in it. And that started off as a piece of rock in, Morocco, Africa, or something, So it's just, you get exposed to things that you don't normally get exposed to in the daily civilian world.
Well, what then prompted your departure and your arrival there at Impala Terminals?
Well, so, Impala came in, around 2012, 2013, and, they purchased the land from Ormet Burnside, and, they had the opportunity to build this, world-class coal handling terminal, coal, petcoke, and also a lot of midstream operations as well. So, some managers left from Kinder Morgan and went to Impala, and it was too good of an opportunity to pass up. It was an opportunity to get in at the ground level before the terminal was built. You could have input, you could help, design the layout, the procedures. And like I said, it was too good of an opportunity to pass up. So, I made the move to go with them. And I got into the marine side, mostly the midstream side. We had a Gotwall crane, a lot of barge to ship, also some ship to barge. We handled anywhere from, bauxite, alumina, coal, petcoke, grain, you name it. We anything that could be dug with a clamshell bucket, we did. So, and also probably in year 2, Impala went through a transition with positions, and the coal market took a turn. So after some restructuring, I was offered, or pretty much given the position of logistics manager on top of the marine operations manager. So the logistics manager was great because that gave me the chance to really work with vessel owners, customers. Instead of just handling their product, it was scheduling and the logistics of it. Working with the barge lines, when barges are loaded in, Illinois, tracking them all the way down through the Mississippi River till they hit the fleet. But that was a great experience. That really opened me up to a lot of good opportunities, and just a whole nother world in the maritime industry. You go from working inside of a chemical plant, just kind of focused on day-to-day operations, to global logistics, right? So vessel nominations, vetting out vessels, working with the barge lines, like I said, working with the harbor tugs or the river pilots, or you name it. There's so many people involved in it. Definitely was a great experience, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Any highlights come to mind from your tenure there?
Well, I mean, the biggest highlight was the commissioning of the terminal. It was a new terminal in town, and we got it up and running, and I think we were cranking out 4 to 5 million tons a year in the first couple of years, just in the on the terminal side. Then you add in another 2 million tons of midstream cargo handling. I mean, we were pumping out anywhere from 7-8 million tons a year through there. So it was just it was a great accomplishment. There was a great team there. Just doing some of the things that we did, some of the run rates we had, or it really set the bar at a new precedent. Just showing the capabilities of a world-class terminal.
And I see in 2017 you made the jump to host terminals. Was it always in the Baton Rouge area?
Well, so this one was a little different. This was another opportunity, just like Impala, that came up. This was to go to the New Orleans area to do due diligence on the Avondale terminal. So, are you familiar with hosted Avondale Global Gateway? But at the time, it was a big project undergoing. I was granted an opportunity to kind of restart what I did at Impala, kind of get in at the ground level and kind of help build something from scratch. So it was just, again, very enticing. Just having that challenge in front of you. Being able to do something that others may think can't be done. It was just too good to pass up. So after my time in Impala, just going over to host and just really getting into ground level of a place like Avondale. It was an 80-year-old shipyard, one of the biggest employers in Louisiana for many, many decades. Being able to take it and transform it into a world-class, bulk terminal was, I mean, talk about quite the challenge. It was, we did some amazing things over there, and host ended up, buying the property from Huntington Ingalls. And I'm sure you keep up on the social media and you can see some of the things that Avondale has accomplished, and it's no small feat. Just it was. And the guys are still over there doing some great things. They're working anywhere from 3 to 4 vessels at one time. It's remarkable the things that they've done in the last couple of years. Yeah.
And then what prompted the move to the Baton Rouge area?
Well, me being from here, I was making the long commute. There was just an opportunity. There was a position open to come run the 2 terminals in Baton Rouge. So, me being so close here, or living here, the due diligence was done. The property was, undergoing a construction transformation in Avondale. So, coming back to Baton Rouge and getting back into operations was, something I was ready to do. So, timing was right. The commute was a lot easier than going to, driving an hour and a half to New Orleans every day. So that was definitely a plus. But so I came in at Port Allen. We run 2 terminals there. We operate for Louis Dreyfus Commodities, all the grain loading, and also for Drax Biomass. So at Drax, we do anywhere from terminal services, maintenance, the unloading of rail cars, handling of trucks, and all the ship loading for them. So, and I've been there since around 2000, the end of 2019. So, yeah, that's where I'm currently at today.
Well, what's a day in the life of a terminal manager for Host?
Well, it's pretty tiresome because you didn't get much sleep from the night before. So, I work with a good team. I have some great operations managers. I got, one of the best maintenance managers on the river. Guy's been doing conveyor belt maintenance for many, many years. So it all starts with them, right? These guys, they come to work every day. They have a plan, whether we're handling inbound cargo, whether we got a ship to load, Supermax, Panamax, whatever the case is, these guys are getting it. A terminal manager, they wear a lot of hats. It's not just with the operation, even though a lot of terminal managers come from the operation side or maybe the maintenance side, you have to step back and you have to look at the full picture, right? Operations, maintenance, also, the finance, the safety side of it, even in the commercial side of it, to an extent. So just, interacting with the customers day to day is probably the top priority as a terminal manager. The operation managers, are keeping the cargo flowing, but just being able to get with the customers, understanding their expectations, learning about the market. I didn't know much about biomass before I got to Drax, or before I got to Host, really. But now, biomass is taking off, and 4 years ago we were doing about 1 million tons a year of wood pellets. Now we're up to 2.1 million tons. So just being able to keep up with the growth of the market, the supply and the demand, everybody wants to be, clean and burn clean energy, and everybody's looking for carbon credits, and, anybody that can burn or get their hands on wood pellets or, gas or any kind of wind or solar energy. It's just, it's a hot market right now. And, it's a good time to be a part of it. But also, we still handle a lot of coal down in UBT, and that's not slowing down anytime soon. Last year, I think we were close to 10 million tons, and it's projected to do the same this year. So, the energy market is just a great market to be in, right? Whether it's green energy or coal, fossil fuels, the world needs their energy, right? And whether it's wood burning in the UK or coal burning in India or China, it's got to happen, right? And the mouth of the Mississippi is it's the most strategically important location in the U.S. to be able to handle that. And guys like me who are in the terminal side, or like yourself on the barge side, we all get a part of it. We all get a piece of it, and just the amount of people and the amount of the different companies and service companies that it takes to be able to move cargo from coal mine in West Virginia to a coal fired plant in Asia. It's just it's incredible, and I don't think a lot of people understand it. And like I said earlier, when you asked me about your thoughts on your podcast, maybe it'll help kind of enhance the visualization, or open people up to kind of see the bigger picture, right? Instead of, before people judge one energy over the other, they need to understand the whole process from start to finish. And doing what we're doing now I think it's a good way to kind of get it out there.
Can you walk me through a quick synopsis of, say, a lump of coal from Virginia making it to your facility and then out to China?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so you have commodity traders that are buying and selling commodities, which it's, as opposed to an actual stock, commodities, a physical asset, right? Whether it's coal or metal or aluminum, cement, whatever. So traders will buy coal from some big player like Alliance Coal, or one of the guys from the Virginia mines, and they'll be allotted so many tons of coal. So the coal comes out of the mines and it gets transported to a barge loading facility somewhere, not necessarily in the Mississippi River, but maybe somewhere in Tennessee or Kentucky, or somewhere close to a navigable waterway that can handle a certain draft on a barge. So once that coal gets to a barge loading facility, it'll be loaded in a barge, and after 6, 12, 21 barges are loaded, tugboat will take the barge and start working it downriver to one of the 4 major terminals in Louisiana. For instance, Post, we run the United Bulk Terminal in Davant, which is south of New Orleans. So after just say 2 weeks of being in the Mississippi River, fighting the elements, low river, high river, lock systems, the barges will finally make it to the terminal, and they'll be released to the fleet boats or the fleet that we own in Davant. The barges will be unloaded via CBU, they call it. It's a continuous barge unloader. The product will normally go into a stockpile and be stored there for a number of days. Or sometimes the timing works out where the barges come the same time as the vessel. So that can be direct transfer, direct midstream. Once the vessel is alongside, we use ship loaders, cranes to get the coal into the ship. Usually coal ships can be anywhere from 50,000 metric ton Supramaxes to 90,000 ton Cape ships. Once the vessel is loaded, it heads out Southwest Pass and goes to one of many, many destinations around the world. And once it gets to this port, it's unloaded, usually via crane clamshell, and it's sent off to a coal burning facility, whether it's for energy or for metal, metallurgical coal in the metal making process. It could just go, anywhere in the world, really.
Do y'all load vessels with conveyor systems?
Yeah. Most of what we do, especially here at the port of Baton Rouge and Port Allen, everything we do is through conveyor systems. So everything is inbound either by barge, truck, or rail, and it conveys into either a grain silo or a biomass storage dome. Once the silos or the domes get full, we use conveyor belts, bottom feed, reclaim belts to actually load the vessels. And most of our ship loaders are pipe loading with Bueller spouts, or we also have a gantry Brooks ship loader that'll travel up and down the dock, loading hole to hole. So yeah, we mainly use conveyor belts, especially at the port of Baton Rouge.
What's the largest vessel you've loaded?
Well, in Baton Rouge, we actually just loaded one of the largest Panamaxes by any biomass terminal in the U.S., and I believe it ended up around 67,000, 400 to 500 tons. So it was definitely, definitely quite an accomplishment. But yeah, it was definitely, most Panamaxes are 60 to 61,000 tons. This one came in. This one's a little wider class, a lot more room to fit more cargo in. So we were trying to get close to 68,000, but maybe next time. But it was definitely the largest anywhere with Dragster, one of the major biomass terminals in the U.S.
How long does it take to load a vessel like that? What's the throughput per hour on those conveyor systems?
Well, if you look at the net run rate from start to finish, the average is anywhere from 800 to 900 tons an hour. So when we're running wide open, we could probably do up to about 1,200 tons an hour. But you take into account shifting and possible weather delays and just other things that trimming the vessel off at the top. So that'll bring your net run rate to about 800-900 tons an hour. So it's not quite as fast as like coal loading. Coal loading can be done in inclement weather. It could be done in the fog. It could be done in different conditions than biomass or grain. So coal, can be anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 net tons an hour. But when it comes to grain and wood pellets, it's very, very sensitive cargo. You have a lot of eyes on, whether it's USDA surveyors, marine surveyors watching the integrity of the cargo. So whether it's rain 5 miles away or 1 mile or sprinkling, you have to stop. You have to stop and you have to close up, and you just have to be really conscious of what you're doing and everything that's going on around you.
Anything else to share about the industry before we wrap up?
Oh man, I could probably talk for days on the industry. But no, like I said a little while ago, doing what I'm doing, especially with Host, I'm exposed to all different elements, all different commodities, whether it's coal or biomass or grain. You know, it's what makes the Mississippi River special, because everything has to come through here. You know, I think something like 60% of the US's waterways are connected to the Mississippi River, but there's only one mouth of the Mississippi River, so everything has to come this way. It has to come through us. So, you know, it's a great career. It's very challenging. You know, it operates 24/7. You know, you're dealing with elements, whether it's high river, low river, you know, hot, cold, you know, hurricanes. It's just, you know, you're going to challenge yourself every day. But, you know, I encourage people, you know, to try to learn more about it, especially the logistics side, seeing how cargo gets from point A to point B, and all the things that are involved in the midstream side, the middle section we call it. A lot of great careers, and a lot of great people, and you know it's not going anywhere, and it's growing every day. Every day I come into work, there's something new happening. There's something new being talked about. It's, you know, whether it's a new product or it's a, you know, a new company wants to come in and, you know, expand, or, you know, right now carbon capture is a big thing. You know, they call it the BECS program, bioenergy carbon capture systems, being able to capture, you know, carbon from emissions and put it back into the earth. It's just always evolving. It's always evolving, and it's, like I said, it's not going away anytime soon. So it's a perfect industry to be in. It's really not volatile either. It's pretty steady. I haven't seen it drop in 13 years.
Well, Matt, I think that'll do it. I appreciate your time today.
All right, Tim. Thank you for having me.
This has been a production of Where You At Studios, LLC.